I need to get to the root of where music comes from, where the spirit of music comes from, why it connects with the outside world.
Hello and welcome everybody to Yamhill County Truth Seeker Conversations in the Spirit of Truth. Today I'm very excited to have with me Sean Lewis, a person with whom I became acquainted a long time ago. And then I saw him post an article on Facebook, and that kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize he had a blog. It looks like he's still in a band. We'll talk about that in a second here, but thanks for joining me and welcome.
Thank you for having me, sir. Glad to be with you.
Absolutely. So I think the first time I met you was when you were in a band with John Marr and I think Wes Root. Is that right?
I was in a band with those gentlemen.
And you were in, I believe, still in high school, or had just graduated, and you were doing a battle of the bands in the McMinnville High School gym.
Right. I was just thinking about that this morning. Holy cow.
Yep. And I've been looking for the footage from that. I can't seem to find it. I think John wanted me to find it.
I am on the hunt for it too. Wow. Yeah.
Well, it may be on one of my tapes. I just have to go through them. It's a format that doesn't really exist anymore. So
right. And everybody's put those cameras up in some attic somewhere. So, by now.
Yeah. Well, and they don't work very well.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah.
So it appears you're still doing music. The article was on a website called Good Godfather, official website, Apocalyptic Garage Music from the Pacific Northwest. I didn't know whether or not to introduce you as a rock musician, but I'll just let you kind of explain a little bit of your background that you want to get into. I think it's probably quite deep and complex. And then we'll get into your topic, which I believe we're going to be talking about the history of Christian worship and its influence on the West.
Okay.
Right
on.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
That'll be great. So tell us about yourself a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's right. We might have met at the time. I was in Joshua Fire, which was a Christian rock band. And you're right. I was young. I was like in the high school age. And I was often going over to visit my friend Clayton Root. And so that's actually the origins where I remember you from, because he was editing, I think, some video for you or something, to do some graphics. I don't know what. I was always hanging out with him and doing media things. And so in partnership with that, I became involved in church worship, singing in the music on Sunday mornings at my first real main church, Calvary Chapel, and then branching out and serving other churches as well. And in the process of doing that and learning about it, my head turned toward Christian history and where all those things came from, and found that it was very wealthy with information that I don't think really gets a whole lot of attention. I know that in America, we have a beloved hymnal Protestant tradition of various songs written in different stages by certain writers that we've sort of we remember, like the writer of Amazing Grace, one of the most like epic Christian songs of all time. And I'm sure it's sung in many different languages all over the world. What I found in particular, as I look back further and further and further, is really Western music as we experience it today comes from that worship tradition of these religious devotees who had devoted themselves to the worship of their particular God, in this case, Jesus Christ. And music was very central to that in a way that a lot of other religious traditions don't really inherit or express. And in fact, in some religions, music and certain types of music are considered, irreligious or profane. And but it's not the case really in Christian history, where you have a really vivid musical emphasis to where this day, if you're going into various Orthodox or Catholic churches, you will hear music throughout the entire service. In fact, the music is the bedrock of the entire worship service. It starts and it really doesn't stop until the service is over. And that developed in the West, in the Western church, to it kind of branched out into all facets of society and culture, where music was invested a lot into, where you get composers like Bach and Mozart that are, in a sense, hired by these royal courts to develop not just the church music, but also just the court music as well. And so there's an interesting overlap between the culture and spiritual tradition and the ideas that are shared that keep a society together, that keep it connected. And so something about, I think, the modern times that we're in right now, there seems to be almost a sort of disconnect in certain pockets of thought, of society, where billions and billions of dollars are spent by entertainment gurus who have sort of a tight grip on what people are watching, what people are listening to, and that has a very specific ideological bent. And
are you talking about Christian music specifically, or are you talking about all music?
I'm really talking about all music. Because as culture got secularized, through the supposed Enlightenment era, and secular government and society kind of prevails in American culture. Then the music and entertainment got more and more secularized, and so Christian music ends up getting sort of de-emphasized, in the past really like 100 years, where so much more is spent on an entertainment production of secular music, that is just way overspends like the Christian world, in the total of millions and billions of dollars, and so that has created a bit of an ideological chasm between like those who don't understand how culture got to be this way, but then there's not really that overcorrection of seeing that, like, well, as Breitbart has said, politics is downstream from culture. So worldviews are shaped, values are shaped as a society in a cohesive way, but by the stories that people are sharing, the music they're enjoying, the stories that they're telling themselves and each other. And a lot of that.
How intentional do you think it is that this, let's say, I'll just describe it in my own words, this removal of Christian music influence on our country, let's just look at United States for now. How intentional do you think it was that it started to lose its prevalence? I'll admit, the more conspiracies that I've followed, the more they've come true. So I tend to just think everything is a conspiracy until somebody proves me otherwise.
Right.
But, so.
Good. That's great. I think I'm inclined to be with you on that. I would say that it's about 60-40, really. The way that kind of, society as a whole is pretty interconnected in the way that it communicates, especially these days. Information goes really fast, really far. really far, really fast. And so, but that was less the case in earlier times. And there is such a thing as powers that be. There is such a thing as people who have a lot of leverage at very high places, even in a free society like the United States of America, to where these people get immensely powerful, and you can't really underestimate how far a person's agenda is going to go when they're at that level. The kind of money and influence that they're pushing around. So. Do I have any concrete thing to put forward for you to say, oh, these guys are Satanists? Well, there's a lot of Satanists. That's true. There are people in the entertainment industry and Hollywood who do have a very specific tie to entertainment, and there is even like a theological parallel there where, why do Satanists perform rituals? Well, because there's a certain element of entertainment to it, and the mockery, the entertainment of mocking religion brings them that sort of, whatever enjoyment. And there's also a sense theologically in Satanism where they, I use that term loosely because it's not, they don't believe in God, right? They don't have a theology, but their theology about God is to believe that they themselves are God, and by performing certain rituals, they, amass a certain amount of power and privilege to themselves, and that is evidenced by many songs that have been sung and written and published. And it's like not really an open secret. And to the point where today, the symbolism is kind of pretty constant, video after video, artist after artist, of this sort of imagery being blatantly, because maybe people who are not devoted, faithful Christians don't quite understand that, like a Christian's going to do everything they can to avoid that kind of imagery and applying it to themselves, right? You don't want to have that sort of representation. You don't want that sort of mark on you to like before God, to say, God, I was buddy with Satan. Like I wanted to be devoted and faithful to you, God, to pleasing you. So to make that kind of association with yourself, you have to be at a certain place mentally and spiritually, right? In order to embrace that kind of imagery and put it on yourself, and either you're an abject apostate, or you're just somebody who doesn't really know any better in the first place, and you don't really have any serious devotion.
Well, and so I'm gonna interject, because just yesterday, and maybe you saw this on Facebook, a friend of mine posted the latest album titles or song titles from a Taylor Swift album, and half of them were listed as explicit, and then some of the lyrics were put underneath. This was actually posted by Sean Foyt, who's a
I know
well-known
Sean,
worship leader.
Yep.
And
I don't know the guy, but I know of him. Yeah.
The lyrics that were quoted were all mocking Christianity, like obviously and on purpose. So I don't know if she's being used. I have no idea what's going on there, but this seems like an example of what you're talking about.
Right. And that gets into a whole world of, where can the Christian meet the need? Because clearly there's a need to understand some things. Clearly there's a lot of talk about spiritual things. There's a lot of talk about this issue of Christianity. Am I a Christian? What does it mean to be a Christian? What values should I hold? What should the things be that I stand for? What are the things that I'm against? And I feel like music is sort of a treatment for that. And that's the way I would recognize it throughout history, is that the more the Christian has sought to understand the teaching of the apostles. What was the original message? What was the original story there? What was the thing they were trying to communicate? What was it that people were believing at that time in those first centuries? And what have we inherited today that is that allows us, enables us to touch that blessing of what the blessing was at that time that made so many people believe? Because there's a big misunderstanding what you hear a lot in circles of, in particular, disbelieving circles, a lot of really bad history, a lot of things that are completely false, like this idea that Christianity achieved. And this goes to the article that I've written most recently, that on my website, goodgodfather.co, that there's this idea that somehow Christianity lost the argument along the way. We don't know what happened to them. They just couldn't figure it out. They were so we've moved on. It's passe. It's this, it's that. It's not good enough. That's what. And so let's go back to our party. But that is a complete misrepresentation of what the history is. The history is absolutely a history, a record of keys to the universe being unlocked over and over and over again, of a prevailing truth which dominates and sets the record straight over and against lies and deception. And
come on, man, that's awesome.
Has been the record throughout history. And it's a difficult thing to draw people's attention to, because it can be kind of dry. It's a lot of history, it's a lot of facts, a lot of record, but what permeates that is the songs that we're singing. And the more that the believer can set their mind on setting the record straight through their music, through the way that they're expressing themselves toward the world as being a blessing coming down from above and sharing it abroad, the easier it'll be for people to connect with and taste and see the truth that is in it.
Amen. I've been a worship leader at my church since '92.
There you go.
And I think about this every week because I put together the song list, and I want a truth to come out, but there's a lot of truths. So, and when I set it up, I want something that just fully exalts God, but also touch on what He has done and can do through us, and is constantly trying to do through us to affect the world around us. And then another aspect is inviting the Holy Spirit to have a part, even though the Holy Spirit is God, Jesus is God, the Father is God, but they all have different aspects and power. And anyway, so what you're saying, I'm really wondering where it's going, because if we've lost the influence and you're in a band, I bet you're thinking that you among others, or all of us, need to retake
that's the point
music of the world.
That is the point of why I keep doing this, is because I look at my skills and abilities and interests and passions as being gifts from God, things that I enjoy that don't really come from me, but they come from inside of me because of a seed that was planted there, in an invisible spiritual way that I can't explain. And I know that it connects with the rest of the world around me. I know that if I am real and raw and true with God, and I'm real and raw and true to nurture the gifts that He's given me, that is meant for other people in the world. That's meant for the world, because when my hands go out, they don't, they don't go in. My eyes see out, my sound goes out. And so, yeah, that's the whole point of, I had a few years where I was reflecting on what I'm supposed to do with, like, is music supposed to be something that I continue to incorporate in my life? It's a full-time hobby, in a sense, For
Right.
people, it's a hobby, and it's a lot of time, and it can be really expensive too, depending on what you're trying to do. And so, why, do I sell my guitars? Do I do this or do that? And it was just came
Mm.
for me, my personal conviction that I need to explore the spirit of the song. I need to get to the root of where music comes from, where the spirit of music comes from, why it connects with the outside world. And so that made me really focus all my attention on sort of crafting and molding my music in a really specific way, and the content that I share in a really specific way, in the hopes that I'm going to fulfill, what its purpose is, what my purpose is in it. And to just keep being because my devotion to being good at a thing is my devotion to God, the good gift giver. And so that's, I mean, I don't know where things go from here in terms of like the rest of the world and where people are at, and um, where things are going. But I mean, like, all I can say is just be aware, be alert of power and where it corrupts, and where absolute power corrupts absolutely. And
Hmm.
that is the Christian music world is not untainted by that corruption. It's got its own. I mean, like, I'm not going to be overly critical about it, because I think every win is a win. And um and there I've been so richly rewarded, and I've benefited greatly from um, the investment that people have put into a lot of Christian music, in the past like 30 years, since I became a believer. But there's always room for improvement, and you can always, you know, continue to work and chip away at what is the kingdom of heaven coming on earth as it is in heaven, to do the work of the Father. Um, yeah, every little bit counts.
Well, so you mentioned contemporary Christian music, and really, I really miss there was a station in Albany that was pretty independent, and I think they're still on. It's Hope 107.9, but at night they would play all kinds of really, I thought, great Christian rock that was pretty hard at times, and
Yeah,
and
Albany had an
and
awesome scene. I used to
yeah.
go to concerts in
And
Albany.
now, oh right, yeah, for sure. And uh, now, really, it seems like all we have is the same basic sounds coming out of that station and Air One and K Love and the Fish in Portland. And in my heart, I because I had a background in radio, and so long ago that it was literally 45s that we would play. Um, in 1979. But I wish I could just put together a little Christian station right here in town that plays much broader. I mean, something that could at least broadcast to out to the realm of McMinnville or Yamhill County. Um, there's much more to be found in music than what is represented on those
Hmm.
stations.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that are working really hard in order to, do justice to their craft, and it doesn't really get a whole lot of notice, and it doesn't get a whole lot of support. And I'm sure every artist would love and appreciate that kind of support. I know I would, but
For sure.
uh,
Well, let's
yeah,
talk about that. I don't know how deep you wanted to go, but let's promote a little bit of obviously we've mentioned your website, but it would be nice if I could show a clip or two of, or at least play a clip or two during this show that
oh
you could
yeah, yeah,
give me access to something uh,
yeah. I
that
almost
I
sent
could
you
put
my new
on,
single
and
this
then,
morning. I'm sorry I didn't. I can send it to you right now,
well,
actually.
that's all right. If it could just be music, or it can be, if it's just music, I'll put a picture of you and the song. The song
Sure.
will play. But if there's a music video with it, or then we can do that, or you can, whatever.
Yeah.
Just I definitely want to promote,
Cool.
and maybe you have links to other folks. But I did see on your website that you can listen to the music on Bandcamp. So and that is it. Just you can listen to it for free, but you can also donate. Is that kind of how that works?
There are those options on Bandcamp. Yes, I have been less engaged with Bandcamp. I'm trying to filter out businesses that don't resonate like with my values, and trying to be
Yes.
more persistent about that. So I've been investing more of my time and energy to a website called back.buy, and it's a
Okay.
100% free speech outlet, and but it's a Patreon type like subscription,
Okay.
service, and so for $1 you get access to all the music, and that is includes the new single that I'm just finished up and I just uploaded last night. That's going to be going live here probably, well, as soon as I can get my graphics done, and then so that'll go on spot. That'll be on released on Spotify. All of my current Good Godfather catalog is on Spotify. A lot of my old music too. I like Joshua Fire. You said that's on Spotify. You can definitely find the album Karis is up there, and people can still listen to that and listen to all of my back. But I've got a
Nice.
lot of that material, even demos that I've uploaded to back.by. So that's back.by / Good Godfather. And then I've got a bunch of merch, handmade merch. So, part of the shtick is I do handwritten calligraphy. So I hand draw lyrics, and I tie them into like a folio, like this.
Wow. Here we
And
go.
and then
Oh, nice.
this is like a sample folio, and then I do
Wow.
like a same thing with like a scroll, and I wax seal that, and then I have prayer ropes. I tie Orthodox prayer ropes that are like this, but mine are like from hemp and gold thread. And I teach prayers. I teach the Our Father and Jesus prayer, and I do a lot of the blogging and stuff like you pointed out on the website. And but yeah, that's it. goodgodfather.gumroad.com. I got hats up there. I screen print t-shirts. So it's the whole concept of like, what can I make out of nothing? Like what's the nothing that I have I can look around and offer to the world that's just like touching base, to share stories, to talk about ideas, to share successes, and then and analyze failures.
Wow. That reminds me of somebody I was listening to yesterday on a podcast when people are trying to figure out let's call it what mountain that they may want to influence.
Yeah.
If you've heard of the 7 mountains, but he suggested if you don't really know, then you can try something that you think is right, or you also look at what's in your hand. Like Moses, what's in your hand? Oh, it's this staff. So guess what? You're going to use this to do a lot of things. And so you might have a guitar in your hand, and obviously, and then you might have access to hemp, and suddenly you can turn it into this prayer rope, etc. So yeah, way to go. Darn.
It's yeah, that's what I got to share with people, and
Okay.
and more.
Good. Wow. Well, I sure want to make sure that we put clips of your song. Somehow we'll figure out how to get it on this
Yeah,
show.
I do have videos that are up on Rumble. I can send you the links. I think I have like a playlist on my YouTube of actual like music videos. I only have like a handful of music videos. I've done a lyric video. The videos are kind of harder to make than a song, and I'm trying to get on this pattern of just putting a song out, like trying to do a good job
For sure.
with these songs, because I didn't do
Yeah,
so good in the
absolutely.
past.
I think
I was real lazy when I was younger.
about doing which?
About music.
Producing?
Yeah.
Oh, just music.
Yeah. I was
Ah.
oh, that's good enough. Print it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're a little more into the details. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
We're always trying to grow, and like you said, look at my mistakes and try to learn from that, etc.
Right.
That's life, man.
Straight up.
Have we hit the main topic? I mean, I feel like there's so much more that could be said. Maybe it could be in the future address things that are happening with more specificity, perhaps. I mean, you did allude rather broadly to
Mm-hmm.
Christian music history, all the way back to before Bach uh, and the West. Um, have we hit it? I mean, I'm going to cut
I mean,
out all this rambling that I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut this off, but
sure.
I just want to make sure we haven't
Uh,
missed something that you wanted to
well, I
talk
don't
about.
know. There's a lot that could be said. I'm glad that you brought up how homogenous the Christian music is these days. Because that, if there is a gripe that I have, it is that, and if there is a point to that, it is that, which is that it shouldn't be that way. That Christianity is the faith of many tribes and tongues and nations. It's the faith
For sure.
that is the universal language that can touch not just every human being, but even to the point of all creation. You're to preach the gospel. So it's supposed, if it's that kind of message, it's supposed to have that kind of impact, and it's supposed to have that kind of language. And so the homogeny to me looks to me like people that have got tunnel vision, who can't really see the bigger picture, and they want to have a really particular experience. And if it doesn't look like that experience, that makes them really uncomfortable. And if I'm uncomfortable, we're not okay. And so I do have a bit of a criticism of a certain self-help mentality when it comes to Christianity, because Christianity is the religion of martyrs who face down tyrants and have faced serious persecution for telling the truth over and over and over again, not comfortable experiences. And so if that's not, I mean, maybe that's a little hypercritical, uh, because everybody's got their road they're walking, everybody's got their journey. But maybe there's a way we're supposed to share in the I don't know, but I know that I really resonate with a kind of music that does not fit that category, and that's the music that I make. The music that I make is, I mean, it's edgy in a lot of other people's realms. A lot of other, it's not edgy enough, like I fit kind of like a certain thing, because I just like it. I like cool guitar tones and stuff. I like a big productive mix, and and that's just my flavor, and everybody's got their flavor. And but what's great is that I because of this one organization called the Extreme Tour, I'm able to connect with a lot of artists that are kind of in a similar place where they have a heart for the world. They understand that there's an importance to music. They've seen it happen because there's people that they've connected with over the years that have appreciated the artwork that they've made, the music that they've made, and the song that they wrote that really resonated with them where they were at. And there's sort of a bit of a network of support that's kind of slowly growing, because I think people are really looking around and they're saying, there could be more flavor, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I will say that typically I do get something from the homogenous sounds that are out there.
Yeah, me
It
too.
ministers to me, but I do find myself, I hate to say it, but just turning it off, and I'd rather sing myself, or I crave something broader at times.
Yeah,
I know it ministers to a lot of people and it's great, but there's more. So I'm looking
we're
forward to hearing
dynamic people.
what you've got, for sure. And the world does need more dynamics right now, for sure, that
Yeah,
pierces the darkness in a
and
new, fresh way.
yeah, and I think there's something to be said about the honesty that you're able to have when you're able to be vulnerable with God. The pattern of the world wants you to form fit to an image that they want to imprint on you.
Mm,
But when you
yeah.
are free to cry out to God, ask God to be with you, to answer your questions, to comfort you, that takes a certain level of vulnerability that you don't really get other places. Um, And so like
True.
we should, I think that is really the ministering spirit of what music has been to humanity, for these thousands of years.
For sure. Well, may the blessings of the Creator be upon you
Yeah.
and your family and your ministry and whatever comes next. We'll have all the links available at the bottom of the screen through this show. And Sean, if you want to come back and talk on another topic, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
Let's say the part one of the Gnostics.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted to go in that direction.
Well, no.
Really
well,
heavy.
The problem with that is I felt like the part one was an intro, and I didn't know where it was headed. So I was like, okay, I've got a good foundation, but where is this headed?
I know there's so much to cover. It was a long article.
It was good. I actually listened to it instead of read it, just because.
Oh, really?
I wanted to get it. Yeah. When you open up an article or a web page on Microsoft Edge, it can read stuff to you. So I just
cool.
Turned it on. Yeah.
Right on.
That was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.